Alabama's Chris Braswell, Washington Commander? We'll see. Let's go. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District's Player Focus. Today, it is Alabama edge rusher Chris Braswell in play for Washington at 36 and 40. And Stoner, we're looking at these two picks here because, one, Washington currently has them. We think that they might be moving up into the first round, but we got to take a look at these guys who might be available in the second round for Adam Peters.
Washington has done a really good job, even in season prior to Peters getting here, with the trade of Chase Young and Montez Sweat, in order to accumulate a bunch of draft picks that they can use as ammunition. They can use it to draft a bunch of solid dudes in those middle rounds, or they can bundle them up and move up into the first round. We both think that that's what's going to happen. They're going to go back into the first round to get an offensive tackle, a top tier sort of guy. And so these picks may become mute. But if they don't, then we have to take a look at what is possible at 36 and 40. We have to look at what their needs are and who we think will be available. And this is really going to be a good look into a guy who I think has a huge ceiling, a lot of potential.
Yeah, he is somebody who I think is starting to kind of climb some of these boards. And why don't we get right into today's Don't Sleep player focus here? This is Chris Braswell, edge out of Alabama, in play for Washington, either at 36 or 40. Edge rusher is a need. You talk about kind of filling the needs of this roster, and Chris Braswell fits kind of my need going for best player available, and he should be kind of up there. What are some of the things that you like? And I know we'll have some video on some of the good things that he's doing. He was very productive after Will Anderson Jr. was drafted last year. He had a chance to shine this year for Alabama, and he did.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about him. His athleticism, his sort of measurables that you want to look at are just kind of off the charts. He's a guy that you look at in terms of his size, his speed, his strength, his agility. All that stuff is in the, pretty much you add it all up, he's in the 99th percentile of all these guys coming out this year. He has all the tools. He has everything that you need. There are some issues that kind of you talked about sitting behind Will Anderson. And while Will Anderson was a fantastic player, the number 3 overall pick,
I think number 3,
5,
right? Yeah.
Whatever he ended
Very
up being,
early.
I think it was 3. But either way, it's hard to kind of overcome that guy. But if you're going to be considered a stud sort of kind of guy, you wouldn't supplant him in college, but maybe they would find ways to get you on the other side of the field or something, just to get you on the field. And so that's a little bit of concern, but he's got everything that you would want in an edge rusher. He's got the pedigree. He's from Baltimore. I love kids from Baltimore, local kids. So I love just about everything there is to love about Chris Braswell.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that he has everything that you kind of want in an edge rusher, because that's actually not true from the scouting reports that I was pouring through for him. Now, it's not to say that I don't like him. I think that there's some good things here, but there are some concerns. One of the things was, we mentioned sitting behind Will Anderson. I don't mind sitting against, outside elite talent, as long as you come in and you do your part. The thing is Alabama multiple times wouldn't put him in position to be a run stopper. So it's not like he is a situational pass rusher is what you're looking at. And maybe we don't want that in the second round, right? We talked about second rounders being everyday starters and building blocks, and he might peak out as a situational pass rusher because his run blocking isn't as strong. The other aspect that has come across in all of the scouting reports is when you're talking about an elite pass rusher, those guys who take the next step, they have a level of bend to them, right?
Very true.
Chris Braswell doesn't have that.
You're right.
His eliteness comes from his first step and his just sheer power. So he's quick and he's strong and he can bull rush. Now, when he was against inferior talent, that shines through just immensely, right? Well, now he's going to be going to the NFL and he might not be pushing back some of the left tackles that you will see. Now, that's not to say everything's bad. Okay. I do like Chris Braswell quite a bit. one of the things is you can move him around and kind of set him up in different positions. And I think that's something that will play to Joe Witt Jr.'s strengths as the defensive coordinator, is being able to kind of put Chris Braswell on the left side, being able to put him on the right side. Now, is he the right target, Stoner, at 36 or 40 for Washington is going to be the question. Do you think that Chris Braswell deserves a shot over maybe some other players that might be available at those points?
Yeah, I think so. What sort of sets him apart for me, obviously, other than his athleticism, he has a high football IQ. If you watch his tape, and we're showing some of his highlights right here, if you watch some of it, it's not the same move every time coming off the edge. He's not bull rushing every time. He's not going around the edge. He's not spinning. He's using all the tools in his toolbox, and that's what you need from a guy. And you're talking about a young guy, a guy who's going to be coming in as a rookie, and yet he's already been using all these moves. We were just sort of traumatized by Chase Young just coming in and doing a bull rush every single time and sitting there screaming, try a spin. And if you go outside, try to come back in instead of just running yourself past the quarterback. This guy doesn't do that. He's got all different kinds of moves when he's attacking the quarterback. He makes plays. He makes impactful plays all over the field. He had a pick six. He's forced fumbles. He's hitting the quarterback. He's stopping running backs. He's doing just about everything. So I think what sort of sets him apart from some of these other guys is really that athleticism. And that's something you can't teach. You can't sit there and teach him while he's out in the field, be more athletic. You can't do that. Either you got it or you don't, and he has it, and you can sort of teach him some of the other finer points that he needs to learn to be a pro.
Yeah, so you're talking about being traumatized from former picks. I'll tell you this, when I started this out and I was reading through the scouting reports and I was kind of going through some of the measurements and things, the one thing that I kept popping up was a second-round pick from Alabama for the Washington Commanders back in 2017. And that one right there was what just kept Ryan Anderson, for those who might not be familiar, was the person who had kept going through. So I actually went back, looked at Ryan Anderson's kind of scouting profile, read through it, and they're not similar at all. One, Ryan Anderson, more of an outside linebacker. His problem was always his athletic ability. Ryan Anderson, very smart, cerebral, but just kind of a step slow for the NFL level. So that second round pick didn't work out for Washington. Chris Braswell, on the other hand, very athletic. Still Alabama, maybe not a full polished product. And this is actually where I'm starting to shy away from him as far as picking him at 36 or 40. Now, when you're talking about athletic ability, there's going to be a couple of guys out there who have similar athletic ability. Chop Robinson, a little undersized, but he is an athletic freak who's going to be available. A little bit bigger and a very different prospect is going to be Darius Robinson. This is Darius Robinson was a guy who's played alongside the line, so he still has that position flex. He is another big, strong guy who's just going to be able to dominate at the line. These are players that are available for Washington of similar talent, right? Similar edge, similar pass rushing kind of capabilities. I'm a big believer Washington needs them, but I think 40 might not be the pick for that. I think Washington actually surprises a few people, maybe takes a wide receiver at that point. And so I think it'll be surprising, but I'm not completely out on Chris Braswell. I just think that they might be better serviced when you look at the talent in this draft. They can get a player later. They have those 6 picks in 5 of them coming in day 2. And there's several prospects, pardon me, that I think you can get good value of. Marshawn Nealand is another one out of Western Michigan who I think has a similar build and kind of style as Chris Braswell. Maybe not the elite talent because one's playing for Alabama and the other one's playing for Western Michigan. But that is a player who I think they can possibly wait and get one of the better wide receivers.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And I wouldn't be upset either. I would be totally on board with any of those. But I tell you what, when I was doing sort of some scouting, if you will, some film work, I was wanting to go and watch Dallas Turner out of Alabama, who's projected to be a first rounder.
He's going to be a first rounder.
And when I'm watching him, Chris Braswell kept standing out. He just kept popping on the other side of the ball, and I'm just going, maybe this guy really does have something. So then that sort of shifted my focus, and the more I watched him, the more I liked. Not as a first rounder, but in that 36, 40, maybe even he drops down into the third round for Washington. But he's definitely a day 2 pick, and I think he would fit right in with this coaching staff, with Dan Quinn and those guys. So I like him. I hope that they do get him, but I would not be surprised, like you said, if they go wide receiver or even go with one of those other guys you mentioned.
Yeah, like I said, when you're talking about maybe just a situational guy, maybe not the guy you're going to get at 36 or 40 when you're trying to build a roster, but you tell us, leave us a comment here in this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, let us know, are you a Chris Braswell guy? Is there somebody else? I know there's a lot of Chop Robinson fans, so I'm sure most of you were hoping that we would talk about him rather than Chris Braswell. Let us know that in the comment section. If you're listening to this on audio, make sure you leave us a rating and review. Hit us up on our social media with that response as well, at Ref the District. Let us know that you're watching. It supports the channel. We are brought to you by Don't Sleep Energy, and you can head over there and use the code DISTRICT to get yourself 10% off your code. That's don'tsleepenergy.com. It's a DMV. You're talking about Chris Braswell being a local boy? Well, why don't you shop local with your energy drinks and get yourself over at don'tsleepenergy.com. Use that code DISTRICT. Support a local company and support us here on the channel. Don't forget to like this video as well. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner here on the Believe Network. Ref the District, brought to you by don'tsleepenergy.com. And until next time,
Chris Braswell, Team Chris Braswell right here.
Be a fan.